Hello everyone, as we already know, braking and going back on power, those two are the cornerstones of driving a quick lap. With this video I want to present you exactly what my settings are, how I arrive to those settings, how I debug and how I tinker with every single setting, both from the software or the hardware part, both in the pedals and in the simulator. I think some of the things that we're gonna cover here are gonna be new to you, and if there's something that you didn't know, feel free to type it in the comment section or give it a like or subscribe to the channel. It will help me a lot. So without further ado, let's go into the video, let's improve our feel with the pedals, and let's make you a quicker driver. Okay, so let's start with the ergonomics. Let me show you how I set up my pedals. My brake here has two stages of braking. I have two springs. The first one, the black one, it helps me to get more travel into the brake. If you notice right now, I'm barely pressing the brake and I have a bit of travel. That's all from the black spring compressing. I like it a lot. I like to have a bit of travel in my braking. It gives me a bit more confidence that something is happening, not just by seeing the output, but by just feeling it with my foot. So it was very important for me to do that. I think it will help a lot of you as well, because it's very intuitive. I found that having a brake with zero travel, it's weird. I tried it a lot, but it couldn't click with me. So that's the first thing that I added, this spring right here, and then I changed from the Husingveld standard rubbers, I changed it with this brown spring, which is very stiff. So right now I'm pressing hard and notice that I don't have a lot of travel. So you could say that I have two stages, both in the braking force, but also in the distance traveled. And I like it a lot. I feel that I can be a lot more consistent under braking. And I will show you later in the telemetry what's the advantage of having that brown spring over the rubbers. But that's my brake. Notice that I already have the SimMagic Haptic reactor. Again, we'll go a bit later and look on the settings, how I use it, is it helpful, and so on.
Again, in terms of ergonomics, it's quite important to have your heel rested on the pedal like this. If you're able to do this position right here, where you're forming a 90 degrees angle almost with the pedal, then this is gonna be one of the most comfortable positions, but also it will give you the proper braking. Because whenever you will push the brakes, you will lift the heel, but just a bit. So if you find yourself that under braking, you are actively lifting the heel up, so instead of staying here, let's say the heel goes here in this position, then you are not pressing as hard as you can on the brake. You are limiting yourself by using less muscles. Whenever you have your heel close to the foot of the pedal, then it's a lot easier to press harder on the pedal, a lot easier. This will make a huge difference in your consistency. I know it because in my older rig I was not able to do this and I was losing a lot of consistency just because I was pressing on the brake from a different angle every time. Like right now it's super consistent and I'm also able to brake a bit harder because of it.
For any pedal you have some software in which you can make the stiffness of the pedal, or the output, better saying it, the output that you get from pressing on the pedal. In my case, in Husingveld, I have the maximum force here set to 85 kilograms. And your goal as you race more and more will be to increase the value progressively, but always increasing it up until you get to your threshold, of course. But this is important because imagine in a shooter game. In a shooter game, you want to set the sensitivity of your mouse as low as you can, meaning you have to move your hand a lot to get from one side to another. Why is this important? Because this will make you slower, right? Why should you do that in a shooter? Because you will be more accurate, you will be more precise whenever because you will be able to move exactly how much you want. If you want to move just 1 pixel to the left, then you can move 1 pixel. The problem is if the sensitivity is too high, you can't control it. You will go left to right and no in between. And here, for example, with my 85 kg, notice that I can modulate going up in terms of 1% and when going down as well. And if I want to go higher and maintain or drop, I can do it smoothly. Now, if I change the force, let's say to something like 45 and I try to do something smooth, you see the jump is a bit too much. I can't really control it in terms of 1%. I'm jumping 5 percentages even when I'm trying. Like right now I have to try really hard and it's not really 1%. The jump is too big. That's because the sensitivity is so high that you can't really control it as much as you want. So your goal will be to increase it more and more and more. For example, for me, I started with 35. Same pedals, just another rig. This was what I was using, 35 kg. Now it would be impossible for me to drive like this. And I wasn't as consistent as I am right now. So your goal will be to increase it over time so that you will be able to modulate more precisely the percentages or the output that you get in the simulator. Same thing with the throttle. I set it in a way that is giving me the most amount of travel. So right now, if you see me pressing it, that's a big travel in the throttle. And I like it a lot for the same principle as the braking. I want to be able to modulate the percentages and also feeling it like this. Because in the brake you have your custom springs or maybe the default rubbers, what do you have there, but it's generally quite good in terms of modulating. But for the throttle itself, I find that maybe in Husing belt it's not that bad, but in other throttle pedals it's a bit difficult to modulate in terms of 1%, and for me it helps if I have a bit of travel to feel it. Because on the throttle, generally the modulation is gonna appear in the beginning, then you're gonna go harder, and in the top, whenever you're gonna do the lifts, like small lifts, you will be needed to do some small modulation. So it's basically the lower end and the higher end.
I want to add one small thing. If you have pain around here in your ankle, whenever you get this angle around here in your foot, you might consider bringing the throttle pedal just a bit closer towards you. So if you can move it on this axis like this and bring it a bit closer, it's possible to help, because I had something like this, and by having my throttle at just a small difference in terms of being it a bit more closer towards myself, then it helped me. Because if you will have it a bit stiffer, it depends from manufacturer to manufacturer, and you will feel this pain around here, then it's gonna be quite difficult to drive. So if you feel this pain, play with the position of the throttle pedal, but also the angle. In my experience, just moving it a bit closer can help a lot.
Now let's say that your brake or throttle is very soft and you can't really do what I'm talking about here, like being able to modulate in 1%. Well, I think a good idea is to search for a brake mod or a spring for the throttle. There are a lot of good options on Etsy. I haven't tested them, but I looked on the reviews and there are a lot of options, as you can see here, for a lot of pedals. So for example, right now, if I'm gonna search something for my Husing belt, let's see what we're gonna find. You see, there are already some mods for the brake with springs, and in my opinion, at least from my experience, it worked great. I didn't got my mod from the Husing belt from the Etsy website, I got it from another website. It's in the video description with my rig and all my components. But this can be a good idea for you to do a bit of research and search for some 3D printed mods that can improve your existing hardware. So in this way you don't have to upgrade something else. You will just get that part that is missing to make the brake a bit stiffer or to make the throttle a bit more responsive, and still use your existing hardware just with a bit of an increase in performance. That would be ideal. Now let's go on the track itself, and the first thing that I like to do is to just rest my feet on the pedals, both on the throttle and accelerator, and notice in a telemetry overlay or whatever output you have to see if you're pressing on the pedals, you are looking at them and you will see if you will have something pressed, because right now I'm just resting. I'm not actively trying to press anything, but notice that I have 2% of the brakes applied. This is not good. This means that whenever I will just be resting on a straight line, like right now I have 1%, I will be still braking. And in my coaching sessions, again, I found some students that had exactly the same issue. They were going on a straight line, but they were braking with 1%. And it's not ideal, obviously. So we want to fix it. The way that you're going to fix it is with the dead zone from the pedal. So you will add just 1% more of dead zone. I'm going to do it right now in my software. You won't see it, but this is very simple, and you will do it in your software. So right now, I increase the dead zone with 1%. I press save, and now I'm resting and I'm not seeing anything. The same could be the case for the throttle. If I lower my dead zone on the throttle right now, you see, right now I'm resting and I have 2%. This is not good because whenever you will brake, let's say you're gonna brake into a corner, but you will also have throttle. So if you see something like this in the telemetry traces, you're braking, but you're still having throttle, and then you're dropping the brakes and picking up the throttle again. Well, we're using more the tires and we're losing rotation. It's impossible to properly rotate the car if we can't slow it down efficiently enough. So we will understeer because of this. Those two are the first things that you want to make sure whenever you're setting your simulate. Let us know in the comment section below if you have other drills for it. Now, my last drill while I'm on the track, I like to do this, and I used to do it a lot in the past just to get used with the pedals. I will go from 0 to 100% both on throttle and on the brake, just in increments of 1, like this, like what I'm doing right now, doing as slowly as you can. So you will do it like this to 100 eventually. You will stay at 100 and then you will lift from 100 in decrements of 1, like this. And same with the brakes. You will go just slowly, 1%, 1%, 1%, and you do it like this to 100. At 100 you should feel discomfort. So if you're sitting at 100 and it's super easy for you to sit at this for, let's say, 10 seconds, then your brake is not stiff enough. 100% on the brakes should be comfortable to hold for 2 seconds, but not more than that, because you will find yourself braking too hard everywhere and triggering the ABS or locking up the tires too quickly. So you don't want to feel pain while driving, but in the same way, never you should be able to hold 100% in a corner for more than 2 seconds. Now this drill is gonna be a bit painful, but you will do it just once in a while to make sure the pedals are configured properly. And the next drill that I will point you to, this is gonna be important whenever you're gonna try to be a bit more precise with what you're doing, is to stay here like I'm staying right now, and say to yourself, okay, I want to press 50% throttle, and try to go to 50%, and then say I want to press 80% and go to 80. So go quickly from 0 to that position, and same whenever you're doing it backwards. So 100, I want to drop it to 10. You see, it's not easy. The same thing with the brake. You stay at 0 and say, okay, I want to peak at 85% threshold braking. You see, and you do it like this. Or you want to trail brake. So I want to trail brake from 60% slowly towards 1%, like this. Those drills, you should do them while being stationary. You don't want to do them in the corner because you really want to focus and make this mind-muscle connection. But more importantly, this will show you that your pedals are set up correctly, because you should be able to do those. Now for SimHub, I'm using 3 effects for my haptic reactors. I have the ABS active, I have this on my brake, and if I press here on test, you might even see it on the video. It's a small kick that you get whenever you're triggering the ABS, and this tells us, okay, we're braking a bit too hard, let's just barely drop the pressure. So it's an instant feedback that you know that you can drop the pressure a bit more, because we're not having the ideal speed into the corner. In some cases it's impossible to drop it because let's say if you miss a braking point, but it's a good cue to learn to drive around the ABS. I have the gear shifts as well on both pedals, just because it feels so nice, man. It's awesome, it's really good. And let me know in the comment section below if you're using it as well for gear shifts. This doesn't give you a competitive advantage, but it feels so nice, especially if you have butt kickers. You can feel the gear shift both in your, in your seat, but also in the feet. It's quite nice. So this is something that I'm using every time that I'm racing. And I have the wheel slip. You see it's quite aggressive on the throttle. Generally I run it at a lower percentage around this. This is a bit more manageable. And whenever the car is sliding a bit, I will know in my throttle pedal that, okay, I have a bit of slip angle. Sometimes you want to induce that kind of slip angle, but sometimes you don't. And you can instantly catch the car just because you get that feedback instantly. But as I was saying, for the moment right now in iRacing, this is not going to be instantly. So if you will use SimHub with iRacing, SimHub uses telemetry data from iRacing and is doing its computations. And from those computations, it's trying to predict what the car is doing or to make sense of what the car is doing. But it's not going to be 100% accurate. So because of that, whenever I'm driving in iRacing, I'm not using it. Whenever I'm driving in iRacing, I'm just using the gear shift. That's all. Because it doesn't give me a competitive advantage and it actually makes me feel uncertain in some cases because it's not, the timing is not right, and let's say you're getting the feedback of the ABS in your foot, but then the ABS is not actually triggering, so it doesn't help you. Whenever iRacing will have it by default in their own game, in the implementation of the simulator, then I will use it every single time because I do believe it's going to give you a competitive advantage. As it is right now, Season 2 2024, it's not there. Now let me know, what are your thoughts on it? What pedals do you have? What settings are you using? Are you using custom elastomers? Are you using the active reactors? Type it down in the comment section below, and if you find it useful, feel free to subscribe. If you want to learn more about racing, feel free to check my Get Good course. And I'm looking forward to make more videos like this, so just stick around. Bye bye.